All right, oh, you lazy freshmen, get up off your quarantine couch and stand up because it's time to get those bodies back in shape. I'm going to be your coach for today. You can call me Coach Carlson or you can call me the Crazy Possum Lady. I will answer to either one of those things. All right, first thing I want you to do, 10 laps around your house and meet me back here in an hour. I'm kidding, you don't have to do that. But we are going to talk about health and fitness, especially for dancers. I'm 98 years old, so I have authority to talk on this subject. I'm not 98, but I'm 68. That's pretty old. And I've been doing this my whole life. So I really can help you, give you some tools you need to not only be a better dancer, to take care of your body, but also to help prevent injuries and also just longevity of dancing. Now, my first question, I'm going to start talking in a Southern accent because I'm doing this PE coach role. I apologize for that, but hey, it's kind of fun. So, tell me, unless you're a Kardashian, how many bodies do you get to last you a lifetime? You're right, one. You get one body to last you a lifetime. So we want to take really good care of it. So let's talk about the body. What is it? What is it? Let's start from the inside out. So the first thing you've got is your skeleton. You've got your skull, you've got your spine, you've got your arms and your legs and your hip, your pelvis, your rib cage. All that is inside of you. Now, that by itself can't do you squat. You can't do anything with it. But if you put muscles on top of those bones, and then you've got tendons and ligaments that connect it to the joints, and the joints are what hold your bones together. So you've got your wrist joint, you've got your joints in your fingers, your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, your hips, your hip joints, your knee joints, your ankle joints, the joints in your toes. So that's all part of your skeleton. So then the bones are on top of, the muscles are on top of those bones. And they're connecting to the bone. So like your quadricep, it's going to connect to your hip bone and your knee joint. So the hip joint and the knee joint. So you've got this muscle here, and you've got tendons and ligaments that are also stabilizing those joints. So this is what you're working with. Without the muscles, you can't move the limbs. So we've got these bones here, but if I don't have a bicep, I can't move this limb right here, this bone. So taking care of all this is super important, particularly your joints, because that's where your range of motion is. And one of the biggest exercise principles is reversibility. And that simply means if you don't lose it, you will lose it. So let's just take your shoulder joint, because we use our shoulders a lot. If you don't ever lift your arms over your head, now as a kid, you probably did. Here, call on me, teacher. I mean, you have reasons to lift your arm. As we get older, especially if you have a desk job or where you're sitting a lot, your arms are kind of here. They might come up to feed you or brush your hair. But you may not ever really lift your arms up in the air. If you do not do that range of motion, eventually you will not be able to do that range of motion. You will lose the range of motion in your joints. So that's why it is so important, and we'll do this later, to have a systematic way of stretching and working through all of your joints so you do not lose your range of motion. And that's incredibly important for dancers, because if you can't move fully, you don't have the vessel to express yourself as much as you would like. So a teacher can tell you this is what we're going to do, but if you don't have the range of motion in your joints to be able to do it, you're not going to be able to execute that move. So keeping range of motion, super important. Also, your muscle strength, especially like aerials. If the lead cannot, or the base doesn't have strength, that aerial is not going to happen. Now, it's not pure strength. It also takes part of the flyer. So without strength through the legs and the hips and the buttocks and your core to be able to lift you up and to be able to tuck, Without that, you're not going to be able to execute that well. So having strong muscles, having good range of motion is going to be imperative to be a great dancer. We don't need to lose that range of motion. We really don't. It is, you have to keep moving. So that's my motto, keep moving. Another thing that about your muscles is flexibility. That's really going to come into play with all kinds of things. Like if your chest, if you don't ever work your upper back muscles and everything you do is in front, this gets tight. Your chest gets tight. Your shoulder gets tight. And what will happen over time is it starts contracting. These muscles in the back are loose because you don't ever use them. You don't ever contract them. And this is why you will see older people with this kind of posture. This is from not working out, not stretching this area. So that's why, we really want to stretch through our chest. This will come into play in all kinds of moves. And flexibility in aerials, if you were doing aerials, and it's not just aerials, I'm just using that because it's an extreme. You would not be able to do an A-frame if you don't have the flexibility to perform that. You could know what you're supposed to do, but you might not be able to execute it. So this is what I just want you to understand what's going on in your body and what we're working with. This is your tool right here. This is your equipment that you have to express yourself as a dancer. So we want to take really good care of it. So when it comes to muscles, you want to make sure you want to first exercise them. You want to use them. If you don't use a muscle, it atrophies. I'm not going to go into all the details about how to work out because we don't have time for that, although I could do a workshop on that if y'all wanted it. But for right now, you can Google things or whatever, exercises. You want to work all your muscles. So let's just kind of go through the muscles real quickly. You have got your deltoids. These are your shoulder muscles. And it goes all around your shoulder joint. So you've got the top, the front, and the back. You want to be able to work all those three muscles and strengthen them. So you'll want to do exercises for your shoulders. You got your biceps. And just bicep curls is what will keep your biceps strong. You have your chest muscles. These really can come into play even with holding your frame. When your lead may be leading you, if you don't have good control through here, as well as your traps and your core, you might get pulled because you don't have the strength to kind of hold your frame. So you got your pecs, you got your abdominals, you got your obliques. You've got your quadriceps. We use these a lot. Any kind of knee lifts, all these jazz moves where you're doing knee lifts or kicks, these are all using your quadricep muscle. And you've got 4 of those, and they kind of start from the inside and go to the outside, and so it gives you a lot to work with. You have got your tibialis right here on the front of the leg. On the back, you've got your gastrocnemius, your calves. You will use those a lot as swing dancers. This pulse, calves, calves, calves. And this is why people will have issues with their Achilles tendon and sometimes even their calves from swing dancing and the muscle is not strong enough to be able to go that long. So you can work up to that. That's what we want to strengthen our calves. And then we've got our hamstrings. Anytime you're lifting your leg to the back, that's going to work this hamstring muscle. We've got our gluteals, which we will use a lot too, for squats. When we do these, the squat Charlestons. Gluteals, quads. If you don't have them, you don't have strength in them, you're not going to be able to execute that move well. You've got your latissimus dorsi in the back, these big muscles in the back. You'll use those anytime you're pulling down, pulling back, you're using those. Upper back, trapezius. We talk about the trapezius a lot because this is what's going to keep your chest open. So when you're dancing, so that you're not dancing like this. So having strong trapezius is important. And triceps, back of the arm. And I think I've hit all the major muscles. Those are the ones you just want to be aware of that. And you want to work all those muscles. Just living and moving, you can be super busy but not be systematically and working your muscles. So you might have imbalances in your body because you may work your right side, use your right side a lot more than your left. So this side's weak. So now you got to use another arm or use another leg to do something, and it's hard because you don't have the strength to do it. So we want to have a systematic workout for our muscles to strengthen them and then also to stretch them. So flexibility is super important. You want to have a systematic stretching. I'm going to do some of these for you when we get to the practical part. So I'll take you through these things that are going to help you with routines that will help you with this. And the video will be on for the month, so hopefully you can kind of get it down and use it. We've also got our not our shoulder joints, but all our joints. We want to keep range of motion in. That is going to be included with the warm-up and also why dancers do isolations. So isolations are simply moving different body parts so that you keep your range of motion. If we tell you to do a move that requires your hip to rotate out, like if I fall off the log or something, if you have lost your range of motion through your hip joint, you're not going to be able to execute that very well. So by doing rotational exercises, these isolations, that's going to help you keep your range of motion through your joints. So that is kind of an overview of your body, what it's made of, how it's used. Let's talk about nutrition, because that's going to be super important. I'm going to sit down for this now that we finished talking about the body. So nutrition, super important. First of all, everybody's pretty much got the same skeleton. So now if you're taller, you might have a longer skeleton, but skeletons don't vary that much. So what is on top of that skeleton is going to play a big part in how you move and how your joints sustain themselves long term. So if you are overweight, the heavier your body is, the more mass that is on your skeleton, especially that's not muscle, it is going to stress your joints. So your knees, your ankles, your feet, your hips, they're going to hurt. Your lower back, it's going to hurt because you've got too much weight on that skeleton. It's compressing the joints. Your body's trying to hold up this weight it was not meant to have. So I will say, number one, try to get your weight to a healthy place because it does affect your skeleton. And it will definitely affect it long term. A lot of the things I'm telling you you may not notice it right now. Although most of you, I think you are at an age, if you're over 30, you will start noticing these things. Sometimes even in 20s. I mean, we have lots of dancers that had injuries in their 20s. So it can happen at any time in life depending on what your activity is. But the things that I want to give you are things that will keep you dancing and moving and feeling good. I mean, let's go to 100, 110, 120. That's what I'm shooting for. So, and I'm still teaching classes and performing, and I have aches and pains, but it's not bad. I can keep doing all this. So the information I'm giving you will be very helpful for now and for long term. So as far as nutrition goes, there's basically 4 categories of food, or things that you would put in your body. You've got your protein, and this is going to be your homework, is to look on anything you're eating, and if it's packaged in any way, look on the package. And I want you just to take note of the grams of protein, the grams of carbs, the grams of fat. You might even look at how much, in the carb section, look how much sugar there is. We want protein. We want to make sure we're getting enough protein because that is what builds your muscles. So let's just say you are training to be a swing dancer and you're doing tons of 8-count footwork. You're just trying to get stronger for that muscle endurance. Your muscles are, as they're being used, they're kind of breaking down. Those muscle fibers are breaking down. So that's what we want to give our body rest. After we do that, we want to rest it and make sure we give it protein, because that's what's going to build the muscle back. Not only build it back as it was, but build it back stronger. So that's how we get stronger, is working the muscle, making it work, resting it, making sure we're getting our protein, then we're going to have a stronger muscle. So that's how it keeps getting easier and easier. The activity itself never really changes. Like the energy with there's a term that they use for how many whatever's an activity is worth. That never changes. It's your perception of how hard it is that changes. If you're weak, it's going to seem really hard. But if you are very fit, it's going to seem easy. So we're trying to change our perception of activity by being more fit. It's going to seem much easier. So we want that protein to build a muscle and repair it. You do need carbohydrates for energy. That's where your energy is going to come from. I know carbs have a bad rap right now. I'm going to say that's a little bit of a fad. I mean, we have nutritional fads. I've lived a long time, so I've seen a lot of them. This used to be called the Stillman diet back when I was in college. So it's nothing new. Basically, if you do not eat any carbs, your body will go into ketosis, which is not a healthy thing. It really isn't. I mean, I'm not going to bash keto diet or whatever, but you do not need a lot of carbs, and it's the kind of carbs you eat that's important. If you're eating, breads and sugars and processed foods and pastries and all that, those are carbs, but they're not healthy carbs. Good carbs are going to be your vegetables, your fruits, your grains. So that's what you want to eat for energy. And then you've got fats. You do not need a lot of fat. You don't need much fat at all, but you do need fat in order for everything to work properly. So you do want to eat fats that are healthy, which would be like olive oil, avocados, nuts, all in limit, but that's what you want to do. When you're looking at those packages for your homework, I want you to look in the ingredients and see if you see hydrogenated, anything. Hydrogenated, something kind of oil. You do not want to consume hydrogenated oils. Your body does not digest them, and they stay in your body, and they just build up. And that's usually what causes heart disease, when the hardening of the arteries, all that's from eating hydrogenated oils, and over time, it's just going to build up and clog your pipes. So try to avoid those. Alcohol and sugar is highly inflammatory. So if you are doing all this dancing and everything and you're eating a lot of sugar, your body is going to easily be inflamed. All that exercising you're doing, which is really great, but that sugar is going to make it inflame. So then your joints are going to hurt, your muscles are going to hurt. Not from soreness, they're just going to ache, and you're not going to feel good. So try to eliminate sugar as much as you can, and that includes really all sugars. And now they've got what they call alcohol sugar. It's under the carbs, and they'll say alcohol or something that, and it's a sugar. They found all kinds of ways to call sugar something else, so they can put it in there and they make you think you're not eating sugar, but you are. So your homework is reading labels and just getting to know what you're eating, and trying to make sure it's things that are going to help your body heal and regenerate and become stronger. And then you've got your vitamins and minerals. A lot of foods, unless you're eating organic, you probably will need supplements, and there's nothing wrong with that. We honestly, our foods are so processed. Even real foods are made in a way, they just don't have the nutrition they used to. Now, if you have your own garden at home, then good for you, because you're going to get fresh fruits and vegetables and whatever. So that's great, but most people aren't going to have that. So if you need to take some supplements, do so. Calcium and vitamin D, getting out in the sun a little bit to get that. Those are all great. So that's the nutritional part that I wanted to share with you. If you need more specifics on that, which I could give you, but it would take way too long, look it up. Google, you can Google everything these days, so do that. Rest is very important. When if you're doing cardio work, so like dancing is cardio, there is some I would say muscle endurance work involved too. You could do that every day. Now, I don't recommend doing the same thing. Like if you're doing swing outs an hour a day, that is a little too much of the same kind of exercise. So you want to come up with different ways to move, different dance styles, or just do solo jazz and then do swing outs on another day. Right now, we're really not doing swing outs, so this is more for later on when you start dancing with a partner again. But we do not want to overwork a muscle. So if you are doing any kind of systematic exercising that is actually going to strengthen your muscles, you want to only do that maybe 2 or 3 times a week. You want to give a day's rest in between. Stretching, you can stretch every day if you want. It doesn't hurt. I would recommend really stretching thoroughly at least 3 times a week, just to really keep your flexibility and your range of motion. Cardio you can do every day. That's great. That's going to help burn calories, keep your heart and lungs strong. So, and you want to get a good night's sleep, because that is mainly when your body's repairing itself. So, in case you don't know this is the best news in the world as far as I'm concerned. You may be getting older, but that has nothing to do really with your body. Your body regenerates itself. Did y'all know that? That it regenerates? You get a cut on your skin, what happens? In several days, it's gone. That's because your skin is regenerating. It's shedding layers. Now that's just one example. Everything in your body regenerates, except for the lens of your eye. The lens of your eye is the only thing that does not regenerate. But your skin, your bones, even your bones are regenerating. So if you take good care of yourself and you're doing some load-bearing exercise, which dancing would be, and you're eating correctly, you're keeping your weight to a healthy place, your bones are renewing themselves. And they're breaking, they might be breaking down some, you may be losing some bone, but then you're adding bone. It's regenerating. So you, in 10 or to 15 years, you will have a whole new femur. How about that? So if you're not doing what you need to do, guess what's going to happen over time? Yeah, you're going to degenerate, because you're not giving your body either the nutrition, you're not working the muscles, you're not using your range of motion. So it's going to, you'll get old. But the body is getting older chronologically, but it does not have to get older biologically. So that is super good news. It means a lot of this is in your control. And that's good to know. Let's talk about injuries. Let me grab some water here real fast. We're going to talk about, let's talk about preventing injuries. We'll start with that. So after this, I'm going to give you a warm-up. I'm going to give you some isolations. I'm going to give you some stretching. And those are the things that you want to do before you do any physical activity, which dancing would be one of them. Now, if you're lucky enough, if you, like say you go to Chocolate Bar and you first get there and someone asks you to dance and they've been dancing for 15, 20 minutes already and they're warmed up and it's a great song and they're ready to go, but you have not warmed up. You just are stepping on and they're asking you to dance and you're going to town. That's where injuries can happen. So you want to make sure you do warm up, even if it's just 3 minutes. 3 minutes of warming up, and I'll give you those basic moves a little bit later. You want to stretch a little bit. Stretching beforehand is good, and you definitely want to stretch afterward. And that's where we tend to not do it, especially at a dance or a workshop. I mean, we're going in there, we're doing our thing, we're leaving, we're going to the next thing. And we've gone all day moving our bodies and we have not stretched. And everything is just going to contract and get stiff. So just take a minute or two to stretch your basic, especially the things you're using with swing dance, which is your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your calves. So just to recap, you understand your body, what it's made of, what its function is, about nutrition, what we need to take in to help us be stronger and healthier, what we want to avoid to help us be stronger and healthier, how we can rest, how we can help prevent injuries. One of the things I mentioned earlier, which I'll reiterate again, is overuse of something. So if you are swing dancing every day for an hour or two, you're probably going to have an injury. I mean, it's just too much of the same thing. So varying up your activity. If you're doing swing dancing one day, go for a walk the next day. Do some weight training at home. You want to vary it up. Anything that you do repeatedly too much is very likely you will have an overuse injury. So we want to just try to avoid that. Try not to have it at all. That warming up and stretching is going to really help you not hurt yourself. So those are the key things. Now, what if you do injure yourself? RICE, R-I-C-E, is the acronym for what you want to do. You want to rest. I know sometimes people they've hurt themselves and that adrenaline's flowing and you just plug through. I'm going to keep on dancing. Probably not the best thing. You're probably going to injure yourself further. You want to put ice on it. If it's an acute injury that happened, while you're dancing or doing anything else, you want to get ice on it right away. Compression will help. Compression is just mean kind of, it could be a wrap, massage, anything that would just help kind of compress that area. And then elevation. So if it was your knee or your foot, you would want to elevate your leg and have some ice on it. And look up how to do all that. But that's basically our recipe for injuries. So I think that's a pretty good overview of your body. Now, the one thing I haven't talked about is which is part of your body, is your senses. Your vision, your hearing, your touch. Those three senses really play a huge part in dancing because your eyes are going to help you with your spatial awareness so that you don't run into people. Your vision is going to help you look at your dance partner and be able to get cues from them, be able to see, kind of see where they're going or it's a visual cue. So that's really helpful. With hearing, now there are deaf people that they can feel the beat or the vibration of the music, and so they can express that. For those of us that have our hearing, listening to the music is imperative for good dancing because that's what we're expressing, the music. We're not just dancing moves that are completely not related to the music. Dancing is truly expressing our moves to music. So those senses are something that we can be thankful for because they are very helpful. All right, I think I've given you all the basic information that you need to know. If you have any questions, write them down, put them in the chat, and we will address those. And then just in a little while, we are going to warm up, do some isolations, do some stretching, and something that you can use for your everyday life. So, good job, people. Remember, what is your homework? Look at packages. And if it's something doesn't come in a package that has a label on it, Google it. You can Google everything now and just say, whatever it is that you're eating, Google it and say what is the nutritional content of this item? And Google will probably tell you what it is. So I just want you to be really aware of what you're eating. So that's your homework, okay? All right, y'all take care, stay safe and healthy, stay up off of that quarantine couch, and keep moving. All right, I'll see y'all in just a bit.